Welcome back, you guys. Tonight we're going to be working on a Glock 19X, and I am really excited about this build overall. There's going to be a lot of new stuff you haven't seen, and it's a 19X. I've only done a handful of 19X, and usually these slides are an optic cut, or they're just something basic. I've done a couple of them, but never to this extent. It's never been this detailed work, okay? So let's briefly talk about what we're doing to give you a better understanding of exactly what you're watching kind of as it unfolds. We're gonna first talk about the precision work that's gonna be performed by the Tormach 770. We're gonna be cutting off the rear dovetail, cutting this for a Trigicon, cutting a new dovetail in front of it. That's gonna allow us to keep the iron sights for co-witnessing. So in the event that we had an issue with the optic, had to replace the battery, pulled it off, it was damaged, whatever the case may be, we still happen to have the iron sight on the back, we still have to have the suppressor iron sight on the front. They work in conjunction with the optic itself extremely well. So definitely overall a nice thought out plan there. We don't want to remove those, we don't want to lose those or anything like that. We're going to move forward with having an upgraded version of our sight pattern. So we're then going to move on to the sides. We're going to cut through the sides here, shave this down, remove the factory text off the slide. Now, to some of you, it's crazy because a lot of them that come in, people are like, no, don't cut the side, I want to keep the 19X. They get all this happy-go-lucky feeling about it because it's the 19X. And we're going to get to it in a minute here, how we're going to add that back to the slide, but we are going to be cutting through, we are going to be cleaning up, we are going to be removing that factory text, we are going to get that clean image. Now on the right side, we're going to do the same thing with the exception of we are not going to touch the serial number. It was a request by the owner, and I think the pattern or the thought pattern behind that might be if I was to ever sell this firearm, the slide matches the frame, matches the barrel, or all together matches the box. So you kind of get the idea there that we don't want to cut all of it off. It is a 19X. We do want to keep it together as, you know, a pieced gun from the factory. Not necessarily like a piece from here, a piece from there, but it was something that actually left the facility as a whole piece, not as individual pieces. So we're going to leave that. We're going to cut a little zone here to clean this up. We're going to cut over here and shave this off just like we would be doing on the back side. So that's going to do us, you know, some nice cleanup. We're going to get some weight reduction there. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what it looks like clean just because they seem to look a little bit different overall. So that's going to be pretty interesting the way that kind of unfolds. What we're then going to do is we're going to get over to the laser, and now the fun part begins. We're going to be doing a completely new Hive that you guys have not seen before. We are not going to be punching any holes through the slide. So we'll be doing some multi-step based engravings, one step on top of another step on top of another step, working around additional steps. It's not an easy thing to do. You don't happen to see a lot of this on the market right now. It's a time-consuming process, and it has to be well thought out. You have to be very meticulous on the work of which you're doing because you're working around other layers in a two-dimensional form, and it's different than working in just like a CAD program because you could just move a layer out of the way. Well, you can't really do that with a laser, so you have to work around them accordingly. You have to make sure that everything is proportional, and you have to make sure you haven't skipped anything, because if you skip it, you'll cut it out, and you'll know it whenever you get to the point that deep into the program. You'll look at it and say, oh wow, I just cut a big hole in there. So you need to make sure that it's done correctly. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be running several large hives on the top between where the front iron sight's going to be and where the barrel locks up. So we're going to be running some fairly large sized hive patterns in a row, and then on the side of those hive patterns we're going to be running smaller hives that will kind of go down smaller. So there'll basically be a big row on the top. That's going to be the top layer. Then we're going to move down. We're going to have some other ones. And we're going to move down again. And we're going to have some additional ones. Now, guys, I have to kind of tell you my thought pattern here because I have to work on this in chronological order. So I have to tell you what my thought pattern is. I got to do the CNC work. Then I've got to get over to the laser. So right now, I don't 100% know how all of the drawings are going to wrap with each other from side over the radius, top, over the radius, and back to side. So I don't know how we're going to do that yet. I'm not 100% sure if we're even going to do that yet. It was not something that was a definite requirement in the build, but it's something that I would like to see. And I think overall that it's something that's going to just look like a more mature pattern overall. So I'm shooting for that idea. We're going to see. We may end up just doing the side, stay off the radius, and do the top side. I don't know yet. but I'm still ironing out all the advanced details in the drawing work and in what would be the three-dimensional plane of how that's all going to work on rotation. So it's not going to be something easy. It's not like you can look and say, oh yeah, we can do that. There's going to have to be a lot of thought put into it. There's going to have to be a lot of drawing, design, sampling, testing, just making sure that it's a logical move before we make a move. So we have the idea what this top's going to be, right? On the side, what we're going to end up doing is XIX, which is our Roman numerals for 19. We're going to do a hyphen, okay? Then we're going to do another X to represent it being a 19X is how we're going to do that. We did not want to do the XIX because we thought it would look a little weird because there's no space between the double X's. So we're going to end up doing a hyphen in there, a very small hyphen between them. That will be our top-based engraving here, okay? We'll step down to Hive. We may even step down to another layer of Hive. So, and then of course that will hopefully tie into the top here. I just have to see how I blend that. That's all one of those. It sounds like a great idea, but we'll just see if it's a great idea when we get there. But guys, that's kind of the idea. And we'll be doing the same thing. So it'll be the XIX-X on this side as well. We also have to take into consideration how they're going to be engraved. Because on this side you would read from left to right. So it would be XIX-X. And then on this side it would be technically the opposite. XIX-X. So we have to take into consideration on overall the appearance of what we're going for. A lot of these fine details I still have to talk with the customer on how they vision it, how they want to see it, because it's theirs. At the end of the day, I can build it however you want it. So those are things to take into consideration when you're talking about writing on the side of a firearm, because it's not a clone, it's a remake. You basically have to go back in and remake both sides. It doesn't work as just flipping it and mirroring it and saying, have a good day. There's a lot more that kind of goes into it. And then of course on the back we'll be doing the Hive on the rear section, and this will be our typical Hive that we normally do that's going to tie that all in together. So guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to get over to the Tormach 770. We're going to run that precision-based cutting on the slide. We're going to get that stuff cleaned up. We're going to get that optic cut put in the back, that new dovetail moved in front of it. Then we might bring it back and take a look at it, or we might just jump over to the laser. Not 100% sure there, but either way, you're going to see some good content, so stay tuned. let's take a look and see exactly how this came out. Man, oh man, was this a challenging build. Let's discuss that a little bit further. Let's explain it just a little bit better so you have a better understanding of exactly the hurdles that we had to kind of overcome in order to achieve this build on the 19X today. So the deal is that we went ahead and cut off that rear dovetail. We relocated it to the front. We wanted to make sure we were still going to be able to co-witness. We did not want to lose those iron sights. We went ahead and cut the optic as low as we possibly can, and in this particular case, as far back as we possibly can. You're going to notice that this is really far back in comparison to what we would normally do, even with removing that factory dovetail. We are much farther to the rear than what you would normally see, especially with a lot of the other companies that are out there in the market. This is something new that I've decided to start offering. This is really far back. I mean, really, it really is. If you happen to take a look at where this cap goes and you take a look at how and where the actual optic goes, it's scary tight. So with that being said, we have happened to perfected that drawing, that base design, so we'll actually be offering that going forward. So if you happen to want to have your optic cut all the way to the rear, not just removing that dovetail, that is an option. We do have that as an opportunity now. Guys, one of the other things we did on our Tormach 770 was we went ahead and cleaned up the sides. Now this happens to be something that we've done before. It happens to be one of those things that really just sets it off. It really cleans the gun, removes that factory stuff, gives us that overall visual of shaved sides. We have the extra contour on the side here where our step down is. We have that weight reduction. We have that cleanup. It kind of wraps up a lot of different things in one process. So it's one of those things that I always recommend to my customers, especially if you're looking for the cleaner look, especially if you're looking for some weight reduction. It's one of those check boxes that you can choose that seems to nail, you know, a lot of those things all in one motion. So definitely an opportunity there to have some good stuff. Now on this side, we ended up shaving the side. We wanted to keep that factory serial number as we discussed earlier in the video. Happens to be one of those things where if the customer sells the gun, if the customer, you know, ended up losing the gun, something turned up missing and something was stolen, we still happen to have serial numbers on upper and lower. Definitely something that we worked around. This was a definite request from the customer. It was this was a need item. We must have this, and we were able to execute that extremely well. At the end of the day, it just came out extremely nice. We still got that weight reduction, we still got that shave side, and we still got to keep that serial number. So overall, very, very pleased. Now, the laser portion of this was very challenging, much more challenging than maybe you would think. So let's talk about the sides. Let's discuss that. That's kind of where it unfolded first. We ended up running the XIX-X, which represents the 19X in Roman numerals, to the top side. We removed the material. At that point, we went ahead and brought that hive up from the depth on the bottom side, so we actually have that two-dimensional base pattern. It stands out, it kind of comes out at you. It's a little bit more detailed than what you would get, say, running just one solid pattern all the way across that. Definitely pleased with the way that is. Now, we went ahead and matched up the other side, of course, the XIX-X is to the top. At the beginning of this video, you hear me talk about, I'm not sure how we're going to do this because they're going to actually be written in different orders. As you can see, the X is over here to the nose, and in this particular case, the X is over here to the rear. We wanted to make sure that we were able to read that accordingly, depending upon which side of the firearm we were on. Otherwise, it might have just come out kind of odd. So I think we chose the best avenue. We took that best path, and overall, we came up with that best result for our product. These are the kind of things that you get when you deal with me. We're building a custom gun. We're not hand selecting one of the 10 patterns in which I sell and that's what you get. This is truly start to finish a hand holding experience in order to build the custom gun of your dreams. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing here, guys. It's a little different than what everybody else does on the market. You see a lot of those, we can get you a custom gun. At the end of the day, we're actually not just customizing a gun, we're customizing your gun for you. There's definitely a difference there. So something to take a look at when you're going through some of my older videos. Have the understanding, have that overall visual in your mind that this is the idea of what the customer wanted. This is not necessarily the idea of what Mark wanted. There's a difference. Sometimes I would have maybe taken a different path than what the customer chose, and sometimes they have a better idea than I do myself. So it works in both directions. But overall, guys, that's just something to take into consideration, especially when you're looking at a beautiful piece of work like this. This was a visual idea that a customer had that I had to execute onto their slide. Now let's talk about the top here. The top was a lot of detail work. We happen to have the sides that actually come over and into the top. It's definitely a unique design. I wanted to wrap that together the best way I could, and we did that. It a very challenging aspect because we didn't chamfer the edges of the slide, okay? We didn't have that fine cut line of work to the line, jump the line, work the top. We didn't happen to have that, okay? We happened to have a roll. We had a radius that was there. So we happened to have a lot of challenges overall. I think we executed it beautifully. I'm very pleased with the way that it came out, and I'm really digging this top design with the incorporation of what would be the iron sight in the front built into the Hive and working around it. So it's definitely hard to see here. Guys, I want to let you know that I will be taking this outside. I will be actually getting you guys some overall pictures of some close-up business of it. You guys get to actually see the work end of it instead of just watching it on film. So we're definitely gonna be targeting that. Now, we ended up doing the Glock logo on what would be the left side. We wanted to add that back to the gun. We also ended up doing the Hive in the rear. Now, something to take into consideration here, something that maybe you didn't notice on this build versus some of the other ones, even though this is a unique build to the market and to myself, there was something here that struck me that I've never done before, never thought of before, and that was rotating the Hive itself. So if you happen to go back and you look at some of my other videos, you're gonna notice that the flats on the Hive are actually facing up. I shouldn't say that. The points are facing up, the flats are facing left to right, okay? Matter of fact, I've got one here, guys. This is not something I normally do. Let's just bring it in. We happen to be building a new gun for the show. This happens to be a Hive. I did not have a Hive built all the way into here, and I'm not going to try to get too far off path here. But if you look here, you're going to notice that these Hives, the straights are actually facing top to bottom, and the points are the points are the same way. Okay, so basically what that means is if you happen to take a look here, where the nose is, that's where your flat is. Okay, flat nose, flat wall. We come back over into here, and what we notice is that we have flat nose, pointed wall. Okay, so they're actually rotated. Something I've just, like I said, never thought of before, never really struck me as being different or would maybe lay out overall visually different. So, you know, this is an opportunity here to really start thinking about the way in which some of these designs could be altered ever so slightly, but in the end, actually catering to a new design. So it's just totally unique. It's not something that I had seen before. Guys, I apologize. This happened to be just last minute. You guys know me. I happen to just discuss it as it unfolds. This happens to be something that rolls off my mind as we're doing it. So I happen to have this one on the table. This is one of the ones that's going to end up being a gun show build. It may actually be for sale. If you guys are local to me, we may actually have a 19 full-blown build out there on the table for sale. We don't usually sell a lot of guns. We might have one. All right, guys. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that content. It was something new to me, something new for you. Overall, it was just something new on the market that we have not done before. And I really enjoyed doing the project. It happened to be a little bit more challenging. It was a little bit more difficult than something I have not done before. Obviously, that is kind of why people choose me. That happens to be one of the main reasons people come to me, is because they know at the end of the day, they're gonna get the product that they had a vision for. They set on a path, and at the end of the day, we reached our goal. We finally got to that horizon, and at the end of the day, we arrived at our destination with product in hand. So that happens to be one of the reasons why people reach out to me. Guys, if you happen to have a project, something that's a little bit difficult, something that maybe is just a little bit different than the market, reach out to me. Let me know what you have. Go to our webpage. There happens to be a contacts tab. Fill that out. Let me know exactly what you want to have done. We can get that project started. We can get that ball rolling. We can actually head down that path and get your product turned out. I went ahead and put this on my 19X frame. I don't know what the actual customer is doing with theirs. They may be doing some stippling work. They may go through the process of changing out a trigger. They may not be using a gold barrel, but I wanted to give you a more complete visual on the product itself, kind of what it would look like if you were to get it back, just kind of slap it back onto your factory frame. Overall, just kind of really wanted to paint that full picture for you guys. Guys, if you have not been following us, you need to subscribe. You need to get your notifications turned on. You need to let us know what you think. You need to put a comment in the comment section below. We happen to have a lot of projects coming down the pipe of stuff that we have not seen before. This happened to be one of them. Very unique, very cool. I'm really liking it. I usually end up taking something from every one of my projects and turning it into one of my own builds. So every time I do something, I learn something, I take something away from it, and I decide at the end of the day that we're actually going to utilize this, we're actually going to roll this into one of my builds. So more than likely, you'll end up seeing some of this on one of mine. Definitely cool overall. I really like the way this came out. I'm loving this top section here and the way it incorporates with the actual nose of the iron sight. Definitely beautiful at the end of the day. So guys, let me know if you need anything. Feel free to reach out to us over on Instagram, Facebook, or right directly from the webpage. You're going to find out that we have a lot of small content being turned out all the time over on our Instagram page. It's just kind of the place that you'll end up seeing the pictures of the stuff if it hasn't fully come out yet. So definitely a cool opportunity to go over there, check out some of that stuff. Maybe it's just not a full build video. Maybe it's just a little bit off the beaten path from a build video that we've done. So it may not actually do another build video, but you will be able to find that content over there. And then of course, we happen to have gun shows coming up. So we have a gun show coming up the 25th, 26th of this month. It's in Greensboro, North Carolina. We will be there. We will have samples out on the table. You will have that opportunity to pick some of that stuff up, to actually see some of those projects from the build videos, have those in hand, ask those questions, things like that. Definitely a cool opportunity. And nonetheless, there's a lot of other vendors that'll be out there, a lot of other opportunity to pick some stuff up, possibly at some good deals and some things like that. So it's kind of a win-win. You happen to go to a gun show, you can see me, and you actually get to see everything else that's kind of going on at the same time.